After once again losing to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, Lamar Jackson is now just 1-6 against this very team and this very quarterback. He looked great early, leading the Ravens on a touchdown drive to start the game, but once the offense went off script, everything went to shit. It seems Steve Spagnuolo has figured out Lamar Jackson's kryptonite. After so many matchups throughout the years, he's been able to make Lamar feel uncomfortable by bringing blitzes from every angle possible, and he's also been able to deploy a spy to limit from scrambling. After the opening drive touchdown, Kansas City's defense allowed just 167 yards on the next 6 drives that Lamar Jackson led. In that span, the Chiefs forced two turnovers on downs, and forced the Ravens to settle for 2 field goals. Lamar was under heavy pressure during the entire afternoon as he faced pressure on over 40% of his dropbacks and got sacked 3 times in the process. Lamar also threw his first interception of the year and missed a crucial throw on 4th down while losing a fumble all in the first half. By this time, the Chiefs were able to build a 20-7 lead and never looked back. Xavier Worthy returned to the lineup, and the Chiefs wasted no time getting the speedster involved. With a pair of 35-plus yard plays, Xavier Worthy was back in the fold. Mahomes diced up the Ravens' leaky defense as he had his best performance of the year with a season-high 270 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Things went from bad to worse in the second half when injuries struck the Ravens hard. Lamar had to exit the game due to a hamstring strain. Marlon Humphrey left with a calf injury, followed by Roquan and Nate Wiggins also having to leave the game. And this is already on the hinges of Ronnie Stanley leaving the game in the first quarter, as the Ravens left Kansas City with an embarrassing loss and several injuries. This season started off with Super Bowl aspirations for the Baltimore Ravens. It was a now or never season. But now it feels that the Ravens have lost their identity. They don't have any sort of physicality, and they feel far more pass happy compared to the dominant defensive minded team that we've seen in years past. And along the way, when you factor in the decimation of bodies across the board, the Ravens are in a bad spot. Their defense has already proved to be extremely porous, as they're the second to worst defense in the entire NFL. Over the last 2 weeks, they gave up 200 yards rushing to the Detroit Lions, including 2 drives of over 90 yards, which is something they haven't did since the early 2000s. And this week, they gave up nearly 400 yards of offense to a Chiefs offense that has struggled to gain any type of momentum through 3 weeks. Reinforcements aren't coming anytime soon, as the Ravens were already entering the game without Kyle Van Noy and Nnamdi Madubuike. Madubuike has unfortunately been declared out for the rest of the season with a neck injury, and this is a massive loss as he is the defensive anchor, being able to plug up everything in the middle. Their offense feels completely disjointed, as Derrick Henry looks to be a shell of himself after that catastrophic fumble that fueled the Bills' comeback in week 1, as he went on to fumble again in weeks 2 and 3. And at this point, I think we can diagnose King Henry with a fumbling problem. Couple that with how upset he looked after his latest fumble against the Detroit Lions, it definitely looks like he is in his own head as he's carrying the football. Lamar Jackson is a type of player that looks invincible at times, but lately he's been pressing far too hard, as we saw in the Monday night game against the Detroit Lions, where he held onto the ball far too long trying to make a play downfield and ended up taking 7 sacks. And against the Kansas City Chiefs, he looked like a deer in headlights, forcing the issue as he couldn't wiggle free from the spy being deployed by Spagnuolo to try and limit the damage with his legs. Lamar, for whatever reason, just seems to shrink in these moments. We've seen that in his last couple of matchups against Josh Allen, and especially against Mahomes, he looks particularly awful. We know that the Ravens have so much talent on paper, but after seeing them through 4 weeks, they don't look remotely close to meeting those Super Bowl expectations we had coming into this season. When you add in the injuries across the roster and Lamar likely to miss 2 to 3 games, this might be a hole that is too large for the Ravens to dig themselves out of.